Hey everybody, welcome to the channel, Two Sagers. If you like knives, I've got a good one for you today. I keep these 25mm snap-off blade knives kind of just placed around the shop where I use them the most. This one is probably my favorite, the DeWalt, just because it's easier to use, simpler to use, quicker. Although I really like these Olfas, I just don't like the fact that I have to actually, use a thumb screw on there to operate it. Well, AVE, if you haven't seen him, he's another YouTube channel. That's Alpha Victor Echo, AVE. And he makes some really cool stuff, and this is just one of them. Before I get to the knife, let me show you a couple other little things. That he has awesome stickers for sale, but just really cool stickers. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it out loud. I'll bring the camera in closer, and then we'll take a look at the knife. I'm just gonna lay these out. You guys can take your close-up look. Stickers, honestly, are very reasonably priced. Nothing crazy. All right, so you've had a chance to look at those. Now let's take a look at the reason why we're here today. It's a DIY make-your-own knife kit. So you get all these parts and pieces. You wanna clean them up, get them set up for yourself, smoothed out. So that's why I got all the sandpaper out. These are laser cut. So most of it's stainless steel except for this little do job right here, which is actually two separate pieces. You gotta snap them apart, and this is titanium. Now these are blade guides. The blade will run sideways along these guides. And he's nice enough to include a few extra of the itty bitty parts. So you get an extra detent thingy, pivot point that goes in this hole here. And I think he gives you one or two extra of these, I don't know, probably number 2 or number 3 screws. Those parts are all just one each. So the first thing we'll do is go ahead and get these cleaned up a little bit. I'm gonna start with some 240, I think, 220. Just kind of get things cleaned up just a smidge, especially the sliding parts, which are those and the titanium blade guides. Then I'm going to use these as well to trim off the little bit of a stub sitting right there. That's better. Okay, I'm going to call that one good. Okay, so now that's cleaned up with the 240. I'm going to hit it real quick with this 400 just for a final smoothness. Now these outer facing pieces, he recommends it and I do too. He as an AVE. Sanding in generally the same direction. It will give it just a more consistent look. It's looking pretty good, but we still got a few little spots down in here that I'm not sure what that's about. Yeah, that looks mucho better. Look at that. All those marks that were up in here are gone. So now we'll get the inside cleaned up. Now that's one thing that I want to make sure once it's all together that these edges are nice and soft. I don't want to have to sand it once it's put together, because when you blue your titanium, if you sand that at all, it'll take the bluing off. So the bulk of this sanding I want done before assembly and before bluing. There's actually a little bit right in that slot. There's a little chunk left. There it is. See that little piece sticking out? There it is. But I mean, what do you expect? I mean, nothing. It can't be perfect. That looks nice. That little piece sticking up right there. Again, this is just stuff that was laser cut. You know, you can't fault the process. Remember, I'm not trying to change the shape of these. I'm just trying to knock off that sharp edge, which will make it slide a whole lot smoother. Now, you don't want it to be loose, right? You never want that. And it's, you know, it's going to wear in over time, but I would like it to just operate smoothly. Way better. Let's get the flats done. Okay, now we'll do one final back and forth straight up so that we get a nice even finish on the outside. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Just trying to make sure I got all my edges that are on the outside smoothed. But yeah, I like that. Yeah, you gotta get all the edges on these. There's a little spike sticking up right here, right there. All those feel pretty good as the outside edges. So now for our final finish. Oh yeah, look at that. Everything's nice and smooth on the edges. And for these spacers, I'm not going to bother dulling the corners, because I actually want it to sit nice, flat, and flush against all the other pieces. And we'll see what I'm talking about here in a couple minutes. All right, now before I do the bluing, I'm going to do an assembly, just so I can make sure that everything works and looks right. If you didn't watch this video, that's fine. I'm going to show you right here now the order the stuff goes together. So that's basically the order of assembly. You got your main platen, then you've got your thin spacers, your titanium spacers, a thick spacer for the bottom, then they both get this little doodad here. And we're going, oh, I missed one. Crap. Here we go. First, you want to install 2 screws in the back side, or the outside, upwards. All right, we'll do the bottom stack first. Use those 2 screws as guide pins. So thin spacer, titanium guide rail, thick spacer, then our outer plate. Now for the front, the top side, we go thin spacer, then we take our titanium guide rail, you take your little plunger here, and you put it in that recess, just like so. And then that goes in the hole in the back, like that. Okay. Then we take our thick spacer, which should fit around like that. Okay, and then we take our top plate. Let's just go ahead and get a screw in here, at least one, just to keep things from jiggling around. And you just turn the screw backwards till you feel it catch the threads, like that. And just be extremely loose with it. We're not tightening anything up yet. And I'm just gonna put one in the front, one in the back, just to kind of keep them in place right now. Looking really cool. I'm gonna pull these screws out of the back that we used as pins, guide pins. Slap the whole thing together. Do a very light snug on it. Check the overall fitment and sanding of everything, and I probably am going to give it a light sanding. Very generous. You got 3 extra screws and 1 extra plunger. Okay, that's it, put together, and it does look really nice. I'm glad I took the time to clean it up like that. Now, I don't like how all these screw heads are sticking out the back. I don't remember him saying that that's supposed to happen. We'll get a blade put in. Okay, and I believe it goes that way. So upside down for you guys. All right, so yeah, to get your blade in there, first off, that little spring detent plunger thing there, there's a groove inside there. You can't see it, but the blade won't really fit in there all the way. I mean, it'll start to jam in, but it's at an angle until you get that little dude out of the way. So once we push that down, the blade can slide all the way in and out, right? This part I'm not entirely a fan of yet. We'll see how it works, but put the plunger or the button side in from the bottom, then your flat spring and the top piece. So once you get that in position, you slide it down and you can see where it slides into the end piece. There we go. Still a little bit snug. But this is what I was talking about. I want to sand this the way it is right now to get a nice, smooth, even sanding all the way around. Everything pretty much lines up. There's not really any huge pieces sticking out, but if I can get that cleaned up as is before I do my final tightening, I think that'll be really, really, really nice. So you can see the difference here. I have not hit that part. I have hit this part. I'm going to do quite a bit more, obviously, but this is making a ginormous difference. I basically used up a whole sheet of 220, so I'm going to bring it down to 120 just to get the bulk of the stuff off, and then we'll go ahead and go back to 220 and then 400, and that should do us just fine. So another thing I did, I basically loosened up all of the screws on one side, just a quarter turn, if that. And I give it a little, just to make sure all the layers here are set as far out and even as possible. And when you do that, you can tap it on one side so that they kind of all seat, or however you do it. The first time I did it, I kind of just tapped it on this edge right here, like that, so that all the pieces on the bottom would fall free. Speck here that I don't really like, a little imperfection in that metal. It definitely looks better, feels better too. Everything's pretty much even, smooth. Now I'll go ahead and soften up these edges. I'm going to do the same thing to the inside edges of these lock rails, the rotary, just to smooth them out, because that's what's making it kind of sticky right now. Regular wear will definitely help smooth that out. But okay, now the only thing I'm not particularly happy with is these screws stick all the way through. So what I'm thinking I might do is, once I glue it, put it back together, I'm just going to sand this side down until them screws sticking through are gone. Just going to go ahead and tear it back down now. Do a full cleanup, glue those titanium pieces, slap it back together. Oh yeah, smoother to the touch now. So I think that's going to make a huge difference through this 400. Now we just got to get all these parts cleaned up, get the metal dust off all of them, and blue these. So actually we'll blue them first, and I'm just going to use a MAP gas torch. Now this is honestly my first time doing this, so we're going to learn this together. You can see it right now. It's normal. It heats up fast too. I don't know what the heck I'm doing wrong here. I'm not getting the blues. So titanium has amazing heat resistance, but I thought all I had to do was heat it cherry red and then it would blue. Maybe I heated it too much. I don't know. Let's try this one and just do a little bit of heat. Yep. Wow, look at that one. So not cherry red, just a little bit. Well, this turned out to be tricky. I like that one though. That turned out pretty nice. So you don't want to get it up super hot. Just enough to, you'll see it start turning blue and then that's enough. Stop there. Well, it definitely turned somewhat blue. There's a little bit of back and forth between blue and other colors. So I think I'm gonna actually just stick with that. I like that. All right, so these pieces that have the holes in them, I'm just gonna blow them out. AVE put a little dab of lube on his button before he put it back together the second time. And I think just because of the amount of grinding dust I have around here, I'm gonna try to avoid that. Do the same thing, get our pin set up. So you can see the bluing on this side. Okay, I mean, it's not great. This side definitely turned out better. Either way, it's nice and smooth now. Feels good on the hand too. There's no sharp edges, except these doggone screws sticking through. So we're getting ready to take care of that. But I think just a little bit of working. It might just be that button too, because I really softened up the edges on the lock bars. The button does have a really crisp, once you're in a detent, it's stuck there. Press it, get into the next one, boom. Really shouldn't take much to get these screws gone. Kind of got to be careful with this spring back here. I can tell I'm already starting to sand that down. I don't want to sand that guy down, so I think and so everything except for that one is taken care of. How do I get just that one? Oh yeah. Oh, nice. Get her blowed off. Okay, now we can take a look at the backside. All them protruding screw shanks, gonzo. This one over here was a real bugger right there, but really can't even catch a fingernail on the rest of those screws that were sticking through. You can see how flat it is now. You can see where the screw is. There's really nothing protruding. Hopefully, final assembly. There she be. Beautiful. Everything is nice and smooth now all the way around. I'm glad I took the time to take it apart and smooth everything back out. Actually, leave it, do the pre-assembly, sand everything nice and smooth. I mean, now all of my edges are perfectly smooth. Rounded off these corners, no sharp edges anywhere. Heck yeah. Oh yeah, it's getting better and better. Yeah, I think this button just needs to kind of loosen up on the inside, wear in a little bit. But I'm sure smoothing out the ridges here probably made a huge difference. You can see the bluing. Top, unfortunately, didn't turn out all that great, but the bottom turned out pretty good. Well, there you have it, the AVE custom-made stainless steel and tungsten 25mm sliding, retractable, locking, snap-off blade utility knife.